Hello, I'm Daniel. Today we will learn an excellent way to improve English by reading stories. This method makes learning fun and helps you understand the language better by using examples and real-life situations. Stories provide valuable insights into the practical application of words and phrases. This method differs from simply memorizing things and repeating them over and over. Instead, it helps you understand how to use words and grammar naturally. A captivating tale keeps you interested, transforming learning into a fun experience instead of dull. I hope you have lots of fun and learn from this method, just like many other learners have. Today I chose a lovely story to help you practice speaking English. Let's get started.
On the day Amelia Rain was diagnosed with stomach cancer, her husband, Ethan Miller, was taking care of his first love's children. In the hospital corridor, Keith Rogers said grimly, while holding a biopsy report, "Amelia, the results are out. If the surgery is successful, the 5-year survival rate for a malignant tumor is 15 to 30%. Amelia gripped the strap of her sling bag tightly with her slender fingers. Her petite face was pale and solemn. "Keith, how long do I have left to live if I don't do the surgery?" 6 months to a year. It's different for everyone. In your case, it's better to do 2 rounds of chemotherapy first before the surgery. It will prevent the risk of the tumor spreading or undergoing metastasis. Amelia bit her lip while forcing out, "Thank you." "Don't thank me. I'll arrange for you to be admitted to the hospital right away," said Keith. "There's no need. I don't plan to receive treatment. I won't be able to get through it," Amelia said. Keith wanted to say something more, but Amelia tipped her head at him. "Keith, please help me keep this a secret. I don't want my family to worry." The Rain family was bankrupt. Amelia already had to bend over backward just to cover the medical expenses of her father, Jeff Rain. If her family knew about her illness, it would undoubtedly make the situation worse. Keith sighed helplessly and said, "Don't worry. I'll keep my lips sealed. I heard that you're married. Your husband..." "Keith, please take good care of my dad. I have to go now." Amelia seemed very reluctant to talk about this and left quickly before he could answer. Keith shook his head. Rumor had it that she had dropped out of university and gotten married. The top genius in medical school had fallen from grace into devastation. Throughout the 2 years of her father's treatment, she was the only one who took care of everything. Even when she had collapsed from illness and was sent to the hospital by passers-by, her husband had never shown up. Thinking back, Ethan had truly treated her well in the year they had gotten married. Alas, when his first love returned to the country pregnant, everything changed. There was once when Amelia, who was also pregnant, fell into the water with Marina Carlton, his first love. Amidst her struggles, she saw him swimming toward Marina with all his might. Due to the ordeal, she and Marina both went into labor prematurely. Amelia had been rescued too late and missed the optimal window for receiving treatment. By the time she arrived at the hospital, her baby had died in the womb. 7 days after the death of her baby, Ethan asked for a divorce, but she had not agreed to it. Now that she knew about her illness, she could not deny it any longer. She dialed his number with shaking hands, and he picked up after the third ring. He said coldly, "I won't see you unless it's to get divorced." Tears filled Amelia's eyes as she forced herself to swallow her words about her illness. Marina's voice suddenly came over the phone in the background. "Ethan, it's time for the pediatric checkup." The tears that Amelia had held back for a long time flowed down her face that instant. Her child was gone, and her family was ruined. But he now had a family with someone else. It was time for all this to be over. She no longer begged him like before. Instead, she said weakly, "Ethan, let's get a divorce." Ethan was obviously stunned for a moment over the phone. He laughed coldly and said, "Amelia, what tricks are you playing this time?" Amelia closed her eyes and said, "I'll wait for you at home." It took all of her strength to hang up on him, and she slid to the ground against the wall. The rain blowing into the corridor drenched her as she gripped her phone and bit her sleeve while crying soundlessly. Ethan stared at his phone blankly after she hung up on him abruptly. After a year of the silent treatment, where she refused to divorce no matter what, why had she suddenly changed her mind? Today? Her voice sounded tearful as well. Gazing out at the heavy rain, Ethan walked out of the ward. "Ethan, where are you going?" asked Marina, while chasing after him with the babies in her arms. When she saw him walking away quickly, her gentle expression immediately grew frighteningly dark. "Amelia, that bitch!" She still wouldn't give up. It had been a long time since Ethan had last stepped into the house they shared during their marriage. He had expected to see the dining table, laden with his favorite dishes prepared by Amelia, but the villa was dark and empty. The sky always darkened too early during autumn. Night had fallen, although it was only 6 p.m. Ethan spotted a vase of wilted flowers on the dining table. Knowing Amelia, she wouldn't leave wilted flowers sitting on the table. So there was only one possible explanation. She hadn't been home recently, and had most likely been taking care of her father at the hospital. When Amelia opened the door, she saw a tall man standing by the dining table in a suit. The expression on his handsome face was as cold as ice, and his dark eyes were filled with deep hatred. Amelia was soaked from the run from the car to the house in the rain. When his icy gaze fell on her, a chill went down her spine. "Where were you?" Ethan asked frigidly. Amelia's eyes, which always gleamed in the past, were dull at that moment. She looked at him indifferently and said, "Since when did you care about me?" Ethan sneered and said, "You won't be able to sign the papers if something happened to you." His words stabbed her heart like sharp needles. She dragged her feet forward, dripping wet. She did not cry or make a fuss, but calmly pulled out the documents from an envelope. "Don't worry, I've already signed them, she said. She put the document on the dining table, and Ethan realized that he had never found the word divorce so displeasing in his life. Amelia only had one request, which was an alimony of $10 million. I was wondering why you would suddenly agree to divorce. Turns out it's for money, he mocked. His scornful expression filled her vision. The old Amelia would have defended herself, but she was just too exhausted now. So she only stood where she was and said softly, "By right, I could have taken half of your net worth, Mr. Miller, but I only asked you for $10 million. When it comes down to it, I'm still being benevolent." Ethan stepped forward, casting a long shadow over Amelia. He held her chin with his slender fingers and said in a deep, cold voice, "What did you call me?" "Mr. Miller, if you don't like this form of address, then I don't mind referring to you as my ex-husband. You can leave after signing the papers." Her arrogant expression displeased Ethan. "This is my house. Who gave you the right to ask me to leave?" he said. Amelia smirked and said, "Indeed, I do not have the right. Don't worry, Mr. Miller. I will move out after receiving the divorce certificate." With that, she slapped his hand away and looked him right in the eye. She said icily, "Mr. Miller, bring your documents to the City Hall at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'll see you there." In the dark of night, Amelia stood alone in the bathroom. The hot water chased away her chills. She rubbed her swollen red eyes and walked to a room. When she opened the door, a warmly furnished children's room lay before her. She pressed a button lightly, and mellow music from a music box filled the room. The room was lit with yellow lights. The atmosphere was undoubtedly homely, but Amelia wept unstoppably. God must have decided to take her life because she had failed to save her babies. She climbed onto the cot that was barely more than 3 feet long and curled up into a fetal position. Tears from her left eye flowed to her right eye, down to her cheek, then finally wet the children's blanket she was lying on. She hugged a plushie tightly while murmuring, "Sorry, my baby. It's all my fault. I failed to protect you. Don't be afraid. I'll be with you soon." After losing her baby, her mental health had deteriorated. Amelia was like a pretty flower, slowly wilting away. She gazed out into the night, thinking as long as she could leave her father that sum of money, then she could go and be with her baby. Before dawn the next morning, Amelia was already fully dressed. As she looked down at her own smiling face in the photo they'd taken outside the city hall after they registered their marriage. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed since then. She prepared a breakfast that was good for the stomach. Although she didn't have much time left to live, she wanted to live longer to take care of her father. As Amelia was about to leave the house, she received a call from the hospital. "Miss Rain, Mr. Rain had a heart attack. We've already sent him into the emergency ward. I'll be there right away." Amelia rushed to the hospital, but the surgery was still ongoing. She waited outside the operating theater, with her hands clasped. She had already lost everything. Her only hope was for her father to live on in good health. A nurse handed her a receipt. "Ms. Rain, this is the total bill for your father's emergency treatment and surgery." Amelia scanned through the details and found that the total bill amounted to more than $100,000. Jeff's daily treatment expenses already cost $50,000 per month, and she only barely managed to make ends meet by working 3 jobs. After paying off his hospitalization fees earlier, she only had $5,000 left in her card. How was she going to afford his surgery? She had no choice but to call Ethan. He answered in a cold voice. "Where are you?" "I've already been waiting for 30 minutes. Something urgent came up, and I can't make it." "Amelia, is this funny to you?" Ethan sneered in response. "I was thinking why you would change your mind all of a sudden. Do you take me for a fool, making up lies like this?" He actually thought she was lying. Amelia explained. "I'm not lying. I was reluctant before this, because I thought you must have had your reasons for treating me this way, but I see things clearly now. There's no point to a marriage like this, so I'm getting this divorce willingly. I couldn't make it because my father had a heart attack and had to undergo surgery." "Is he dead?" Ethan interrupted. It sounded weird to Amelia, who even spoke like that. "No. The doctors are treating him." "Ethan, the surgery costs more than $100,000. Can you give me that $10 million? I promise I'll get the divorce." He responded with a snort. "Amelia, I hope you know that I, of all people, wish your father dead. I can give you the money, but only after we make the divorce official." The line went dead after that. Amelia's face was filled with disbelief. She remembered that Ethan had treated Jeff with respect when they were still together. However, the hatred in his voice earlier did not sound like a joke at all. Why did he want her father dead? Everything made sense when she connected the dots with the Rain family going bankrupt 2 years ago. How could there have been such a coincidence? Ethan must have caused their bankruptcy. But how had her family offended him? Amelia had no time to dwell on it. The most urgent matter at hand was to gather $100,000 to pay her father's medical bills. The doors to the operating theater opened, and Amelia quickly stepped forward. "Dr. Herbert, how is my father?" "Don't worry, Miss Rain. Mr. Rain made it, but he's still mentally fragile. Be careful not to trigger him in the meantime." "I understand," Amelia replied. "Thank you, Dr. Herbert." As Jeff was still unconscious, Amelia asked the nurse, "My father was quite healthy. Why did he suddenly have a heart attack?" The nurse answered hastily, "Mr. Rain has been in good spirits recently. He even said that he craved lamb shank. I thought that Al Palfino was just 15 minutes away, so I went to buy him mushroom soup. When I came back, he had already been sent to the emergency ward. It's all my fault, Miss Rain. Did you see anyone before you left my dad?" "No. Mr. Rain looked normal before I left. He even said that you like the carrot cake from Al Palfino and asked me to buy a slice. I never thought that this would happen. Amelia felt that things weren't that simple. After asking the nurse to take good care of her father, she rushed to the admission desk to check the visitor records. Ms. Rain. Nobody came to visit Mr. Rain this morning, the nurse working at the desk replied. Thank you. By the way, have you cleared the bill for Mr. Rain? Amelia did her best to hide her embarrassment as she replied, I'll pay immediately. I'm so sorry. She left the admission desk and took a taxi to the city hall. But Ethan was nowhere to be seen when she got there. Amelia called him in a panic and said, I've reached the city hall. Where are you? My office. Ethan, can you come and settle the divorce procedures now? Ethan sniggered and said, Which do you think is more important? The business deal worth hundreds of millions that I'm about to make, or you? I can wait till you're done. Ethan, I'm begging you. I need that money urgently for my father. If he dies, I'll pay for his funeral. With that, he hung up. When Amelia called him again, she realized that he had switched his phone off. The heavy rain beat down on her, and she couldn't breathe as she crouched under the bus stop sign. Amelia felt nothing but regret as she gazed at the busy street. If she hadn't gotten pregnant and dropped out of university, then she would have graduated with a degree by then. With her capabilities and academic talent, she would have had a very bright future. Who could have guessed that the Rain family's sudden bankruptcy would cause Ethan, who had always loved her dearly, to change? She had lost everything in the blink of an eye. 1 year ago, Ethan had asked someone to take away all her jewelry and luxury handbags. The only valuable item she had left was her wedding ring. She took it off and walked into a high-class jewelry shop resolutely. The salesperson eyed Amelia, who was drenched and dressed in cheap clothes, up and down for a moment. She then asked, Hi, did you bring the invoice and proof of purchase? Yes. Amelia pretended she hadn't noticed the salesperson's judgmental stare and hurriedly handed the invoice with her head lowered. Thank you, miss. We have to send the ring to be verified. Can I contact you tomorrow? Amelia licked her dry lips and said in an urgent tone, I'm in urgent need of money. Can you speed it up? Okay, I'll try. Please give me a moment. Before the salesperson could take the ring away, a fair hand clamped down on the box. This ring is very pretty. I'll buy it. When Amelia looked up, she found herself face to face with the person she hated the most, Marina.
Don't forget to like and done in the comment.